Carter Evans joins us now by phone from Santa Rosa, California. Carter, this week has become the deadliest week for the California wildfires in the state's history. Officials fear that the number is going to rise. What more can you tell us?
Well, the reason they're worried that it's going to rise is because they just have not had enough time or resources to go through all the rubble. We're talking about 3,500 homes and businesses that were burned to the ground. And remember, this happened in the middle of the night. We're talking about like 3, 4 a.m. People did not get warnings. There were no warnings that most people got. Some got a reverse 911 call on a landline, but most people I spoke with said they heard nothing but people running in the streets and honking horns for everyone to get out.
And many of the confirmed dead are elderly. Do you think the state could have done more to evacuate these folks?
Well, that's something that's certainly going to be looked into. At least the names and ages that have been released so far are all in the late 50s and above, all the way up into 80s. So that's a question that a lot of people are going to be asking. There are also a lot of elder care facilities around here, and that's something they're going to have to consider in the future.
And we're looking at the weather reports. They predict more dry winds through the weekend. Have the thousands of firefighters who have been deployed to the region been able to make any headway against these flames?
Yes, they're making good headway, and we've had predictions of when materialized in some places. But, for example, I'm in Santa Rosa right now. It is smoky, it is thick, it is hazy, but there is not a breath of wind right now, and that's really good news because this is when the firefighters can really get a handle and get ahead of this fire.
And we know that a lot of trauma has been in this area. The recovery efforts will take a long time. What will be the first step?
The first step is getting people back to the ruins of their homes. That's the first step in the healing and the first step in the rebuilding. I see people in hotels. I see people in evacuation centers. They have no idea when they're going to be allowed back in. They've been told they're going to be allowed back in when it's safe, but they're not giving any indication of what safe means. The fire is gone in those particular areas. Once the power lines are removed, they're hoping they'll be allowed back to see what's left of their homes and begin to rebuild.
Do we know what started this fire?
Well, the way the investigation is going right now, officially there is no cause to this fire. But one of the things that they're looking at very closely are going to be electrical lines. It was really, really windy Sunday night. And there were reports that some of these lines were blowing together and shorting out, essentially, and that was throwing sparks into the dry brush. So they're going to look at that as a potential cause.
All right, Carter Evans, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure.